So the last time we left off with this network, we set up the router to implement DHCP on network 192.168.10.0. Again, let's go ahead and test each one of these hosts and see if they have received an IP address from the router. Okay. If I just highlight with my mouse here, you could see that indeed they should have had an IP address. Let's see here. Let's go to the desktop, IP config. Voila, 192.168.10.2 with this mask, which is a /24, and it knows that the gateway is 192.168.10.1. Let me check again why it was giving me something else. I guess right here, you could see it now. Let's do the same here. Yes, it has the updated address, and it knows its gateway as well. Okay, the router also has an IP address. Gigabyte 00 is up, and it's 192.168.10.1 with a /24. The gigabyte 01 is down. We haven't done anything there. So that's the other side. Now, what I would like to do this time is do a DHCP with a server, right? Instead of having the router do that. And we're going to do that on the second network on the other side of the router. Well, let's go ahead and set up our network. So I'm just going to take a switch here. And 2950 will be just fine. Put it right here. Okay. Let's get a couple hosts. Stick one here. Let's go ahead and put another one here. Now let's go ahead and set up these hosts where, again, they are going to be in dynamic mode right here. So this one, same here. This one will be in dynamic mode. Okay. Good. Now let's go ahead and put some cables. Okay. You can put a straight through. This is a layer 3 device. Let's go ahead to Fast Ethernet 2. The other one will go to Fast Ethernet 3. We'll leave Fast Ethernet 1 as the connection between the switch and the router. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to get with a straight through again. So I'm going to go from Fast Ethernet 01 to G01. Okay, now the reason is red. That's because this particular port is still down. One more thing I'm going to do. Let's go to computers, and I'm going to pick on a generic server. So I'm going to pick the server and put it right here. Okay, and I'm going to use the DHCP service out of this server. Okay, now if you double click on a server here, you could see that it has a whole bunch of services you could use it for. Okay, you could use it as an email server, an FTP server, TFTP server. We're going to use the DHCP server part. You could use it as an HTTP server, right? So if you have some web pages. Okay, so whole of nifty little applications, right? And all of these are applications supported by TCP/IP. Okay, they're in the application layer. All right, so now let's go to the router. Notice now you have to have a strategy. Anytime you do something like this, what are you going to call your second network? Now, 192.168.10.0 is this network here. I would like my next network to be, and let me write it up here, 192, and I'll stick with a class A, .168.20.0/24. This would be my network on this side. So I would like this port right here on this router to be 192.168.20.1, and that would be a /24 as well. Okay. And that's as far as I'll go with the router. I will not set DHCP on this side on the router. I'll let this server do the job. So I'll connect the server to the switch in a few minutes. Let's go to the router now. Let's go to its CLI. Okay. And let me just move the CLI here so you can see the LED of the port of the router when it goes on. Okay, so we're going to type enable. Okay, conf t, and we're going to go to interface G1/0. So int G1/0. Let's see. So it's telling me that's wrong interface. That's fine. I can say do show int. You could do. Show me the interfaces that I have. I have Ethernet 00. And the next one is, let me see here. And the other one is 01, not 10. Okay, so this is the name of that interface, G01. All right, so fine. We're going to go back. I'm going to retype. And that would have been G0/1. And apparently I typed O instead of 0. Okay. There. Now we can set up the IP address. IP address. And that would be 192.168.20.1. And make sure you give it the subnet mask 255.255.255.0. And then no shut. Turn it up. There you go. And it will turn on right here. Okay. So we're done with the router, but I'm just going to go ahead and save the configuration. And I'm going to go and say this, copy, run, start. So the running configurations content is going into the startup configuration content. I'm going to say yes. Done on the router on this end. Okay. Now remember, these two computers don't have an IP address. This one as well. Let me go ahead and connect it to the switch now. Go from here. So it automatically picked one. I believe I might have to picked up the lightning bolt. All right, so I'm going to go to the fast Ethernet switch. And I am going to go to its configuration first. And I am going to go ahead and tell it who the gateway is. Right, so the gateway, as far as it's concerned, is 192.168.20.1. Great. Then I'm going to give it an IP address. I'm going to give it a static IP address for now. It is preferable that you know who your servers are. And I'm going to give it .2. So .3, .4, all of these will be leased. So for now, 192.168.20.2 with this subnet mask. Fantastic. Okay. So as far, I can go here from the desktop of this server and actually ping the router at this stage. So I can do a ping 192.168.20.1. Okay. So you could see now that it's communicating with the router. I could do the same from the router side, ping that server. So I know I have connectivity, everything is working. Except for one thing, I haven't started the DHCP service, which means if I go to any of these computers and I go to their desktop and try to ping anything, I don't even belong to any domain. Okay, so if I do an IP config, as you can see, I have a 169.254. So I really don't have an address that belongs. And this was given, by the way, by IPv6. So that's not going to work. So let's go ahead and go to the server, set up DHCP. This is what we need. And we need to tell it what is it we want? So it has, let's see here, a server pool already set up, pool name, and it's off. So the service is off, and it's on Fast Ethernet 0. Okay, there's only one Fast Ethernet on this device. We need to tell it who the default gateway is. We can try to edit this. Let's see if that will, so if it will take it, if it will take the edit. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this to 192.168.20.1. Okay. And the startup address, I'm going to give it a valid host of 3. Okay. And let's see if I could save this. And let's see if it took it in. Yep. Startup address is this. The default gateway is this. Okay. I don't have an FTP server. I don't have anything else. Let's turn it on. All right. So I just turned on the service. Now let's see if this took effect. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to put my mouse here. I don't see anything yet on the, I see it now. It's taking time. Let me put it here now. This hasn't taken effect yet. Well, let me check this guy here. And let me just go ahead and do an IP config. Notice before it used to be 169. Now it's a 192.168.20.3. Okay, that's good. So that means, can it ping the router? And let's go ahead and do a ping 192.168.20.1. That would be pinging the router through the switch. And sure enough, it can do that. So now I'm concerned about the other host right here. Aha, it took some time. Obviously, there's a negotiation going on between the host and the server until they agree, right, on the IP address. And sure enough, it took .4. So I can do the same thing here. I can go to the desktop. Okay. Sometimes just relax. Wait until the host and the server have agreed on having an IP address. Okay. I get concerned for a minute, but again, this is a simulation. So let's go ahead and do this. Ping. This time I'm going to ping the server. 192.168.20.2. Okay. And I'm going to ping the other PC on that network. Okay, so perfect. Now, how about if I ping across? Which means I am on PC 3 right now, and I want to ping PC 0, knowing that PC 0 is 192.168.10.2. Okay, so let's try that. Right, so I am here on PC 3, and I'm going to go ahead and ping 192.168.10.3. Now remember what I'm doing here. Was it .2? I believe it's a .2. But before I do that, let me check again. IP config. Yes, it is a .2. Let me go back to this guy. Right, so I haven't ran the ping yet. Let's see what happens. Okay, this is going to tell me if it's going to go through the router or not. So it's timing out. Voila, it went through the router. So the router is routing between these two networks. Let's try it again. Voila. Okay, so I was able to ping from this host within this network across the router to this network. In our next exercise, we will go through several networks before we reach our destination. So we could see how we can expand this, right? Right now, this does not support a remote network. These two networks are right next to the router, each one on either port. Okay, so this could be part of a larger LAN. These are two Class C addresses internal to your LAN. It's fine. But the key here is, and the lesson out of this, is that you could apply DHCP or implement DHCP using a DHCP server or a router, okay? And that was our previous video on how we set this up. So you may want to check again, part 1, how did we set this router to support DHCP on this network here? And for this video, what we did is we implemented DHCP on 192.168.20.0 network with a DHCP server. Again, in our next video, we will expand this where we will try to have some connectivity across a network, which means there should be a link between two networks that could simulate point-to-point or something of that nature.